a net worth of $500 trillion. The family is responsible for 80% of the world's currency, dark secrets and complete control. The Rothschild family is the definition of success and power. But we all know there's something deeper here. Information that needs unpacking. Let's discuss how the Rothschild family made their fortune and if they really do rule the world. The story with this world famous family starts way back in the late 1700s with a man named Mayer Rothschild, aka the father. Growing up in Frankfurt, Germany as a Jew with both of his parents dying when he was just 12 years old, Mayer Rothschild was definitely not silver spooned as a kid. 1 year later, his quest to become one of the richest members of the world had begun, getting an apprenticeship at a bank where he would spend every day learning how the financial system worked, interacting with the ultra wealthy on a daily basis, and this is where the $1 trillion idea was born. Mayer Rothschild ended up marrying another Jew and went on to have 10 children, 5 sons and 5 girls, but making it very clear from day one, only the men were important due to them keeping the family name. More on this later. Amschel, Solomon, Nathan, Carl and James were all born and grew up with nothing but financial knowledge from their father. Back in the late 1700s, money worked a little different. The currency was gold. The ultra wealthy would travel across Europe carrying around large amounts of heavy gold in order to spend it in other parts of Europe. But a problem occurred to the Rothschild family, and this is where credit was essentially invented. The 5 sons went on to open 5 different banks around Europe's busiest locations and invented credit notes, where their target market of the ultra wealthy would essentially store their gold at their banks and would get a credit note depending on how much gold they had in reserves. This meant the rich could travel across Europe without carrying all their wealth, and instead when they got to another country, go to that Rothschild bank and take out the amount of gold they had stored at another bank if needed using their credit note. Amschel would run the German branch with his father, Solomon would run Austria, Nathan would run England, Carl with Italy and James with France. Thus where the financial system was born. But the scary part, there's not one accurate book or information that fully explains how they turned this into money for themselves. And what's next will shock you. One thing we do know is that the Rothschild family always had their fingers in different pies, funding different sectors of the world and essentially now ruling that segment or having large influence on it. And this could be where the complete power begun. You know money is power, right? One thing we do know is that war made this family a lot of money. The family lent money to governments to fund wars, meaning now the family had the governments working for them, being responsible for all their secrets, and along with building wealth, started building power. Funding both sides of the Napoleon War. You tell me how this looks. People threw wild guesses out there on how much the family empire is worth. 10 billion, 100 billion, 1 trillion, and even 50% of the world's money is owned by the Rothschild family.
500 trillion.
But most people say it's on the lower end. But when you run the financial world system, you don't need to be rich or have money in the bank because you own the bank. And it's said that the Rothschild family is at the head of nearly 99% of banks across Europe to this day. 1812 saw the end of the creator of the empire. Mayer Rothschild had unfortunately passed away, but before his death he made sure some rules were in place in order for the family to stay a success. Keep building wealth and maybe to keep the secrets close. According to a 2003 article called Kiss Your Cousin, Mayer Rothschild had said that cousins should marry cousins in the family to keep the name and money tight. Males would hold all the power, and if the family name kept growing and getting new people into the family, the name would just fizzle out. To keep rich, the family being incredibly wealthy would lend money to all types of sectors, governments, financial, industrial, war and many more. This way the family would stay at the top of the food chain and essentially have somewhat of control of the entire world. The family was lending money to the government. Let that sink in. But what we talk about next is where the real money and power was starting to be made. Nathan Rothschild, third son of Mayer Rothschild, was written to be the son that made the family the most money and put the dynasty into the history books forever. Nathan, following in his dad's footsteps, was making money funding different sectors, infrastructure in Europe to be exact. In a time of the Industrial Revolution, this sector was growing at 1,000 times speed, and Nathan had discovered another gold mine. In 1798, Nathan moved to the centre point, being England. He would set up many different businesses to keep the family money flowing, and also started putting his finger in the London Stock Exchange pie. And at this point, all the billions he was making, Nathan would start his own bank, NM Rothschild and Sons Limited, under his name and planning for his kids to continue this and the last name's legacy. Nathan had a special drive for growth and money, a perfect recipe for power. The RM Rothschild and Sons Bank was such an empire that it funded the whole of the UK's Napoleon War. Again, now the family was owed favours by the UK government and the monarchy, and also held the secret information that a UK citizen family was funding their entire war. Nathan had England in his hand, but funding wars and owning banks isn't the only way the family kept building their wealth. Nathan was different. He kept building on the foundations his father had set. Instead of sitting back comfortable, living the life, with the government and his bank paying off his pension, he strived for more money and power, and a few years later, set up an insurance company to compete with Lloyd's Bank. The family kept buying all the land in London. They helped Brazil gain its independence back, fund the build of some incredible global projects, fund some of the now world's largest companies, lend money to Japan so they could fund their side of the war. Nathan became a lord and had his finger in every pie imaginable, and was shortly known to be the most powerful man in Britain and sometimes even the world. And that's even without his 4 brothers by his side. Imagine the family together as a whole. That's power. Nathan went on to have 7 kids of his own that all went on to join the business or help Nathan run the philanthropist efforts the family had put in place, like building schools and hospitals and doing some incredible charity work. But was this used as a cover-up? The family had so much power the world could look at them as evils, even though they probably weren't. If people had this perception of the family, it would soon become their downfall. But if they won over the biggest population of all, they would solidify their dominance forever: the poor. And that's exactly what they did. Building schools and hospitals, the family quickly became fan favourites, and Mayer's dream was becoming Nathan's and the Rothschild family's legacy. And during the 1900s, the family went on to have the largest private fortune in the entire world and in history. But the potential downfall came out of nowhere. It's reported that during World War II, the Nazis stole a ton of the Rothschild family property and assets. But of course, this didn't exactly make much of a dent in the family fortune. And could it all just be some sort of cover-up to take the heat off the family for being so mega wealthy? After all, they did have many favours. The family still goes strong today. Of course, all the originals have died over 100 years ago now, but the family name still lives on, with many grandchildren's grandchildren still alive and in the business today. Jacob Rothschild, a now lord in England, at 86 years old, is essentially the head of the family's fortune and favours today, and also has the Baron title. A Baron is a title of honour typically given to a business leader who is rich, powerful and influential. First given to Nathan Rothschild by the Queen Victoria, now many years later still held in the Rothschild family name. There are still so many other family members left today as well. To give you an idea, too much research to find out about. The family, although is known to be a fortress, are all net worth individually, but with people saying the maximum that one member's worth today was in the Forbes 2018 richest list, and at 84th, a man named Benjamin de Rothschild, who was said to have a net worth of around $1.7 billion. But let's be honest, when your family essentially created the financial system and helped nearly all countries financially, you don't need a net worth. You own most of the money in circulation anyway. Why do you need money in the bank when you own the banks? The family still owns a lot of real estate as well. Businesses such as vineyards all around the world. They own one of the richest art collections in the world in many different sectors the family has money in. Even though on paper it's said they're nowhere near the ultra wealthy of this day, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Don't always believe what you hear, ladies and gentlemen. This family is very rich and probably lent those two some money. Unlike a certain few people, without naming names, Andrew T, the Rothschild family stay very low key. They follow one rule: don't be loud. Stay in the shadows. Don't call out the establishment. Don't be opinionated. Keep a low profile. You don't see a Rothschild family on TV or on a podcast. Rothschild family are playing a different game. They're indirectly a part of the establishment. They don't go around bragging about their money and power. They stay quiet, and that's why a lot of people haven't even heard of this family. Especially in the last few years, the family has been linked with a ton of conspiracy theories. Some I wish not to comment on for my own safety, but let's just say this. Yes, the Rothschild family probably did fund the whole entire building of the world and funded many wars, but it may not mean they have some extreme power. I'll let you make a decision on that, which I'd love to hear in the comments. How much money do you think the Rothschild has to this day? And do you think they have some sort of power that we don't know about? Leave your answers in the comment below. But for now, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos on money, power, corruption and scams. And if you want to start taking action and become rich like this Rothschild family, then click this video here, because here's 16 businesses you can start today with no money. Click here, take action.